Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I have some witchy recommendations for you guys. So we are firmly in spooky season and I wondered what recommendation video I was going to be bringing you this year. So we have witchy vibes. Now these are like different levels of witchy vibes, but none of them are high fantasy. So you don't have any books in here where being a witch and having magic is a normal part of the world. They are more contemporary settings. There is, I think, just one that is a contemporary fantasy and the rest are predominantly other genres with either witches or witchy elements in them. So the first one we have is the only fantasy in this pile, and that is the Devouring Gray by Christine Lynn Herman. I'm pretty sure that I've recommended this book in an autumn/fall reads video before, but this one is a young adult contemporary fantasy set in a town called Four Paths in upstate New York. We are mainly following a young girl in here called Violet, who is the youngest generation of the founding families of Four Paths. However, she does not know this about herself because when her mother was younger, she left the town and never looked back. But they are now going to be moving back into the town. So Violet appears in this town where everyone kind of knows that she's part of one of the founding families, but she has no idea what that means. In this town there is something called the Grey, and there is a beast trapped in it, and it is the responsibility of the founding families of Four Paths to keep the beast firmly trapped in the Grey. So the thing that I really love about this book is the atmosphere. It has those really creepy, ominous small town vibes. We have a cast of characters in here. I think there's 4, maybe 5. I think there's 4 families in total, and each of the families has their own type of power. It manifests a little bit differently in each member of the family, but they have like a body of power. The one that sticks most in my mind in this is that one of the founding families have the power of premonition, and they access this through things like they can cast bones, they could read tea leaves, or maybe they could read tarot cards. We also have a family that have some necromancy abilities, and together these teenagers must come together. They're all like slightly misfits. There's something gone on in their past that makes them a little bit different and not perfectly fitting into this role of what a founder's child should be, but they all have to come together when bodies start turning up around town, and it turns out that the founding families are not doing as good a job of holding back the Grey as they originally thought. The next one we have is a book that I actually didn't love, and I took this out of my unhaul pile, but that is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. Now I'm including this in this video because this is a well-loved book. A lot of people really love this one. It just wasn't for me because I don't love the specific type of horror that this is. But this one is an adult horror novel that is following a young woman called Emmanuel. It's like a historical kind of book. I haven't seen Midsummer, but the setting, like I've seen the trailer of Midsummer. I actually really want to watch that movie, but it gives me those kinds of vibes with the setting in here because it is very cult-like. And Emmanuel lives in this town called Bethel that is ruled by all of these religious people. Essentially everything surrounds the religion in this town, and it is like a very kind of sinister, patriarchal, overbearing type of religious cult vibe as well. But everyone in this town follows this religion. I think the Holy Prophet or something is the first prophet is the main religious guy in here, and everyone kind of does whatever he says, and this is not a life that Emmanuel wants for herself. However, there's not really any way out of it. But one day Emmanuel does venture into the woods that are forbidden, and there she is given the diary of her dead mother by the ghosts of witches. So this leads Emmanuel down the dark path of witchcraft, which is forbidden and outlawed in this religious society, and this kickstarts like a whole chain of events. The reason why I didn't love this is that a lot of the horror in here is hinged on this like overbearing patriarchal religious presence, which definitely did its job in this book, but religion used in this way, or just religion, overly heavily religious books, make me angry more than anything, and it makes me so angry that I can't even appreciate the fact that it's kind of supposed to make me angry and also unsettle me. I also didn't love the angle where this book was going because I thought it was going to be a witches rise up and destroy the patriarchy kind of book, but the way that the story plays out isn't quite like that, which is the most I can say without spoilers, but it definitely has those creepy, unsettling vibes. And we do of course have the theme of witches in here, and I would say that the take on this is more of a like historical burning witches at the stake kind of witchy vibe you've got going on in this one. One that I found really fun was The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. This one is a new adult, it's like a contemporary fantasy, but I also think it has a lot of thriller and horror vibes, specifically slasher vibes, because this one takes place in a sorority. It is dual perspective, and we are following two women called Scarlett and Vivi. Both of them are in this sorority on campus called the Ravens, but they come from very different backgrounds. So Scarlett is a legacy witch. She's always known that she's a witch, and she wants to become, is it the president of the society? I always get confused when I'm trying to remember, because in the UK, like, we don't have sororities and things, but I think that she is aiming to become the president of the society. And we also follow Vivi, who is invited to pledge for the society, who has spent all of her life moving around with her mother. She's never had the chance to put down roots, so when she goes to college, she sees this as a chance to finally do that. She has no interest in the Ravens. It is known within the society, like if you're a witch, you know that the Ravens is a witchy society, but Vivi has no idea that she is a witch at all. And while Vivi is in the process of joining the sorority and Scarlett is very tenuously holding on to her place at the top, a wicked power starts to rise on the college campus, and the sorority girls start to go missing one by one. Some of the witches have specific abilities, but it is very much like a kind of spooky Wicca vibe, you know? Like, they perform their spells and rituals and stuff on the full moon for like ultimate power, those kind of witchy vibes. But this is also a really fun slash, and slasher books are actually something that I've discovered I really enjoy. I also really like There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. Neither this book or There's Someone Inside Your House has changed my life, but they are really fun, atmospheric, slashery type books, and I really enjoy that vibe as like an enjoyable thing to read. I think that this perfectly blended the witchy slasher and also the sorority elements in here, because we had a lot of the stereotypical bitchiness that you find in like high school, college, teen movies, but we also had this ominous presence of something going on and girls going missing and trying to figure out what's going on, combined with the witchy elements. And having the two perspectives was great as well, having Scarlett, who is already entrenched in the society, and Vivi, who is kind of learning everything about it because she didn't even know that she had the ability for witchcraft. The twist at the end of this one as well also surprised me. I thought I was doing a good job of piecing everything together, but the specifics and everything and what was responsible for everything that was going on, it did take me by surprise. So yeah, this isn't going to change your life, but I think it's actually a really good book to read on Halloween, and yeah, it's fun. I enjoyed it. Next up we have a super fun one, and this is if you want to get into the more spoopy than spooky Halloween vibes. Essentially, there's nothing scary about it, but it is super witchy and super fun, and that is the X Hex by Erin Sterling. This one is an adult rom-com essentially, and we are following this woman called Vivian, who is in her late 20s, and 9 years prior to the start of this book, she had a terrible breakup. She was dating this guy who was part of the founding family of this spooky witchy town that they live in, and he was there for the summer. They dated for 3 months. He had to go back home to Wales. He had family obligations. They broke up, and when she was drunk one night with her cousin, she cursed him using a Bath and Body Works candle. Now, they did not consider that real witchcraft. It was kind of just like a process they went through to help Vivian through her emotions. But 9 years later, in the present timeline of this book, when Reese comes into town to perform some Founders Day duties, everything starts to go terribly wrong, and Vivian realizes that maybe her curse worked a lot better than she thought it did. So I loved this book. Once again, it didn't change my life. It is nothing revolutionary at all, but from the synopsis you know exactly what you're gonna get from this, and it delivers on every single front. So I would definitely recommend this for fans of the 90s Melissa Joan Hart Sabrina, the Bewitched TV TV show, which was in, I still don't know if it was like the 70s or 80s, but I remember it used to be on TV, like playing reruns when I was a kid. And the whole backdrop of this is very like Halloween Town. So it delivers a compelling romance on the backdrop of all of these like fun, super light, campy Halloween vibes. I just loved the atmosphere of being in this book because it did like throw me back nostalgia wise to things like Sabrina. There's nothing super deep about the magic. There is like a decent plot that is well connected to other elements of the story, and the whole way that witchcraft is approached in here is very like Sabrina and Halloween Town, where it's something that only some people can do, and they use it as a front and a gimmick to make a whole ton of money. We have great sexual tension in here between the two involved main characters and the guy in here as well. He's called Reese. He's Welsh, he's super hot. I think that the British representation, considering this is set in an American town from an American author, was real good as well. And this is like a super quick read. I devoured this entire thing and it was just such a good time. And the final one is kind of vaguely or ambiguously witchy, but it is a book that I truly love, and that is The Furies by Katie Lowe. This one is a adult thriller about a female friendship group. We are following a young girl, I think she's called Grace, and I think her father and sister died in a car crash, and Grace's mother uses the money from the settlement to put her into this exclusive private school called Elm Hollow. Now when Grace is there, she becomes kind of infatuated with this friendship group of girls who have this, they're not the cool kids, they're like the cool grunge kids, and they have this enigmatic vibe about them. So Grace does what she can to become their friend, and she ends up being initiated into this secret society on the campus that revolves around the classics. Now there are elements of witchcraft and ritual and things like that in here, but whether it actually is witchcraft or whether it is this like toxic obsession that all of these girls have with each other and some of the other happenings of this book that is responsible for like the supernatural elements of the story is up to the reader to decide. But I thoroughly love this story. I think it has a great atmosphere. It is the craft but British is how I usually describe it. So this is set in the UK. I would say that it is very relatable. I was a teenager in the UK in the mid 2000s, so like I turned 13 in 2006 up until like the early 2010s, and this is set in the 90s, so like not completely relatable to me, but I did relate a lot to what it is like to be a teenager in the UK at around like the 90s to the 2010s. So I think that that was really cool, and with it following this female friendship group that are dabbling in witchcraft, it just gave me major The Craft vibes. So if you are a fan of that movie and you want a British take on it, then I would maybe consider checking this out. I want to reread this actually, which is unusual for me. I don't normally reread thrillers, and I actually don't normally keep them. I normally unhaul them when I'm done, but this is one of the only thrillers that I've read that I will keep because I adored it. So there you have it. Those were 5 very different books with witchy vibes, and I think, yeah, they're all different genres as well, which is cool. Please let me know if you have any recommendations like this. Like, I know there are other witchy rom-coms out there. I do have my eye on Payback's a Witch. I can't remember the author of that, but that is like a witchy rom-com but sapphic, I believe. Please let me know, especially if you have any recommendations for not necessarily witchy is a bonus, but slasher type books, maybe adult slasher as well, because I haven't read any adult versions, and also anything like The Furies if you've read The Furies, because I love this one so much. And then generally just leave me recommendations for books that have that kind of craft like or Sabrina like witchy vibes. But that's about it for this video, guys, so please don't forget to like if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna. If you head into my description box, you'll find a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, as well as a link to my Bookish Candle website, the Instagram and Etsy for that, and a 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today, guys. Bye! Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you're a go and nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.